I'm Keziah Young, and this is On the Mat, a YouTube space where we sit and talk about the many layers of life, particularly grief and the impermanent nature of our being. Take a moment, sit with me. Hey now, hey good people, welcome back to On the Mat. Thank you for joining me this Sunday morning as we once again drop in, carve out a little time to be with ourselves and look within and talk about some things. So I'm really appreciating your presence and your openness, your open spirit of coming together and really coming together here, but dropping in and going within for you. And so, this morning, as I think about On the Mat and what I'm bringing, I've been reading this book by Rebecca Lee called Illumination. And she's a Buddhist teacher and writer and, many things. I can't say that I am deeply familiar with her, but I am in deep gratitude for her book, Illumination. And what it's bringing to me in this moment is meeting the present moment as it is. Being in practice of meeting the present moment as it is. Not trying to hold on to a past moment or wishing this moment away, aversion, I don't want this. I'm not happy with how this is. Why could this moment be the way that it is? Why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? Why me? And the reason why I'm thinking about that is because a great amount of life, can cause suffering if we are not being present with the moment and meeting the moment where it is. Often we think that, all aspects of our lives are supposed to just be seamless. That if there's some problem or issue, some hardship, heartache, even a diagnosis, that it wasn't supposed to happen. It isn't supposed to be. This isn't how life is supposed to be. But when we really step back and look at the happenings of our lives, if it weren't supposed to be, then how is it that it's being? And not that we agree with all things. Oh my goodness, no. There are some tragic things that occur. Abuse, violence, deep, deep grief. There are some, I am not trying to diminish that at all. And when we're faced with those things, be it personal, direct or indirect, or bearing witness to someone else, or scrolling along, social media, and we encounter things that, we can reject the notion of those things, which then causes us to go down this spiral of suffering because our thoughts latch on. And before we know it, that resistance is causing us to make what's in front of us worse. It's already bad. But then if we latch on and we resist it and we try to wish it away, or we dwell in this space of, I'm not accepting this, so I am just gonna spin out into the resistance of my non-acceptance. Wow, we suffer. Nothing changes. The reality that doesn't change, right? Whatever's in front of us, that devastation, that dis-ease, the discomfort, the unfair reality, injustice, whatever it is, it doesn't change because we resist it. But what happens is we end up aching more deeply. We end up suffering more greatly because our thoughts is like massaging in the issue. So when I think about the Buddhist practice of being with what is, then I can look at my life and say, what areas might I not be being with what is? Or when are those moments? Because maybe there isn't like an area, but when is the moment where it's just hard to be with what is? Recently, I had that experience with work. It's been something, long going, where, I find myself surrounded by people in power positions, positions of privilege, who want to just go along, right? Want to move things forward without dealing with the root causes, and I find myself, I even shared it with my partner and others, like if there's toxicity and you want change, you have to deal with what is. You have to deal with the thing, deal with the toxicity to get to change. Otherwise, it's like sweeping something under the rug. How can we move forward when we're not dealing with things? And so for me, I found that to be challenging. And moments of just sort of in my mind replaying that like a spinning wheel and wondering, why can't people get on the path, right? Why can't people deal with the thing in order to get beyond? And then, of course, I can allow myself to, pull that apart and look at this person and the decisions they're making or not, or this person and the things that they're saying or not, and the effect of the cause and all of the things. And at a point, it's like, you know what? Let me stop thinking on these things because I'm creating my own suffering. They're not changing. So let me be with what is. And let me see this clearly and do whatever I can truly from my own place to change myself inside this reality. Otherwise, there's that sweet spot, right? You just want to keep on going because of the injustice and why is this so? You know what? Who knows why it is so? But what I can do is be with the so-ness of the why, right? I can just be with the reality of this. And in any moment that I'm interacting, to be authentic, to say what is true for me and my experience, and to have no expectations of other, to be less invested in what is in front of me. That way I'm in a place of more balance. Because maybe if I'm invested, I might cause myself more suffering because the change isn't happening, right? So do you find areas of your life, right, where you're not meeting what's in front of you? Instead, you're almost distracted by, the reality that you don't want it to be as it is. And then how are you going to practice bringing yourself back to the present of just holding what is and meeting it differently so that you reduce your suffering? That's what I'm thinking about today on the map. When we allow ourselves to meet what is in front of us with a level of non-attachment, not trying to hold on to it or let it go, because what's in front of us might be something we really love or something we don't care for at all. And whether we're grasping or, clinging or trying to get away with it or do away with it, there's going to be suffering there because change is always going to be in flow. And so how do we just meet it where it is? so that we can be in the fullness of the moment of the things that we enjoy, that we love, that we like, that we want to keep forever, although we know we can't because, again, impermanence, everything is coming and going. But if we meet the moment, we can just fully be in the moment without wishing it to stay longer. And if we meet the moment, we can just be in the moment without wishing it away to get to another moment because we don't want to deal with this moment. But being right here, right now, where life is happening, that's where all the information is. That's where our peace of mind is. That's where we do away with any anxiety because we're not reaching back or forward. We're not dwelling on the past or hoping for a different future or worried about a future. But we can meet the present moment and say, how am I right now in this? How do I want to be in this situation right now? What is it sort of requiring of me, particularly if I want to grow and expand and reduce my suffering and be in the joy and the good and experience the fullness of it without don't leave at all, stay here, right? How can we just be in the moment and meet the comings and goings and rises and falls? That's what I'm thinking about today. And I think one of my biggest life practices right now is with regards to work and the things I cannot control. Whether I feel like I have the brightest idea or the better path because I see where we're going, if nothing changes, there's nothing I can do about that. And it's not from a powerless place. It's from I can't control all things, that there are many causes and conditions in life, and I'm just a part of it. But I want to see it clearly so that I can move in the direction of flow and good and not stagnation. I want to go with the current and not swimming like salmon against the current. And it's an ongoing practice. Because when we're involved and engaged with others, when it's not just us, then we're having to deal with their energy. Or to personalize it, then I have to deal with their energy. I have to deal with the decisions they're making or not, and how those things impact me or make me feel. Right? It's a practice. But it's a practice worth practicing. It's effort worth extending the effort toward. Because if nothing changes, at least I can have the peace. Oh, at least I hear myself. There's sort of an inside joke with that in my partner. At least I can have the peace. So let me say that differently. I can't change anything that they're doing. I can change myself. And so with changing myself and meeting the moment, I can have peace. I do have peace. I will have peace inside the practice. It's not an at least. It's actually higher than at least. At least is a huge compromise, and peace is not a compromise. Peace is the path, even when there's suffering around us. So today I'm thinking about meeting the moment, and I invite you to think about meeting the moment and how you might practice that and how you might commit yourself to the practice of engaging in sort of letting it rest here as opposed to holding on to or fighting against it, but to just let what is in front of us rest right here in the space of openness. And when we find ourselves trying to hold tightly or we find ourselves resisting, to note it, to be mindful, to bring ourselves back. Awareness is everything. Once we're aware, consciously aware, we can see it, we can reflect, and then we can practice being with it differently. I mean, that's what life is about. It's not about perfection. It's about the ongoing practice. And so today, on this morning, I invite you to investigate yourself in the present moment and find the ways to practice being with. Even when that which is in front of you is difficult, challenging, because you and I can reduce our suffering when we just hold it here, not tightly and not pushing it away. So join me in practicing that, and let's see where the road goes. Let's see how it changes our lives, how it makes us feel in the moment. Yeah, let's do that. And thank you for coming back around and sitting with me and tuning into yourself and your life to find the space and place of deep, deep practice. I appreciate you.